Hi guys, Hard Hat Cosplay here, and welcome to this super easy and super fun horn making video. Horns are a popular prop in both cosplay and costuming, and in this tutorial I'm going to show you all that you need to get started with making your own. I'm going to show you how to draft your own pattern from a mold, how to cut the foam pieces out and glue them together, how to prime your horns, and how to paint them with an airbrush. If you are not interested in making your own horn pattern, I do have some free ones that you can download, and I will put those in the link to this video down below. So to begin, you're going to need all of your supplies, which I have shown in this photo as well as listed down below. So let's start with making the base that you'll use to pattern your horn. Please keep in mind that you only need to make one side of the horn because you can just mirror the pattern for the exact same copy of the other side. It's super awesome. It makes it so much quicker. So once you've made your base, I use just tissue paper and aluminum foil to make mine. You're going to tape your horns, and I'm so sorry I do not have video of me making the mold, but it's pretty straightforward. So while you're taping your horn, you're going to want to take a pen or a marker and mark where you want to cut your pattern pieces out. Please do not forget the registration marks. I have forgotten those before, and it makes it a real pain in the ass to put everything together. And then once you've labeled everything, go ahead and cut them out. Once you have these cut out, it's time to transfer all the tape patterns to paper. If you don't like to do this, you can totally skip this step. I just find it way easier to use paper patterns than tape, as it is easier for me to lay them down and remove them from the foam. Once you've traced out your paper patterns, it's time to trace them onto the foam and cut the foam out. Here you can see that I am tracing onto the foam, careful to line up all my registration marks with where they were on the paper pattern so that I have an easier time lining the foam up when they're glued. Once cut out, it's time to start gluing. I use contact cement for all of my EVA foam applications. For me, it is a lot easier to work with than hot glue or any other type of adhesive application like super glue or something like that. However, if you don't have access to contact cement, hot glue or super glue will still work. You'll just have your own issues that you have to deal with those. Once you've applied the contact cement, let it sit, and then once it's dried, you can adhere your horns together and start shaping them. Once everything is together, let the horn sit for a little bit to make sure that all the glue is dry, and then you can start to embellish your horns. As you can see here, I did not need my seams to be perfect, as I'm going to be covering up the entire horn base. However, if you're just wanting this to be smooth, you're going to want to start sanding and filling in all of your seams, as well as cutting and shaping down any extra bits that you don't want on your horn. First, I began by cutting out some scales to create my design. I'm going to cover my entire horn with these scales, and I'm going to use contact cement to start gluing them down. For this, I'm working from the tip down, as I want them to have a sort of layered effect. Once you have all of the scales or whatever design you planned down and glued and everything is dry, you can start to add embellishments or score marks or otherwise beat them up to look like they're weathered or to give them a bone effect. For this, I used my exacto blade and I began to score the foam. So now it's time for you to seal and prime your horns. You first want to take your heat gun and apply heat to the entire horn. This will open up the cut marks you made, if you made any, as well as seal the foam up so that it is able to take the primer a lot better. For this, I use black Plasti dip, the spray kind. There's a lot of different methods to priming your foam. Some people use Flex Bond or gesso. I just had Plasti dip on hand, so that's what I used. I'm sorry, I don't have any video recording of me doing that. It's pretty straightforward. You just take your spray can in a back and forth motion until everything is covered, and you do a couple layers of that. Once everything's set and dry, you can start putting down your base paint. The base color of my horns is going to be red, so I used a red spray paint to paint my horns, which will be the main color. Once it comes time to airbrush, I will be using black and pink as shadow and highlights, as well as some white. So finally, everything is primed and painted, and now it's time to go on to detail painting. And this, in my opinion, is the absolute best part. It's where the horns really come to life and where they get their character. So like I said previously, I'm going to be using black and pink for my highlights, and I've chosen that the light source will be coming from the top down. So the shadows will be in between the scales and the highlights will be on the top. So for the first horn, I started with the pink and I did the tips of the scales. After I did the tips, I airbrushed and eventually switched to a dark black with a bit of red tint to get my desired shadow effect. So here is the result so far. The varied shadows and highlights are really starting to turn out really nice, and everything is starting to blend pretty well, and the horn is coming to life. However, there is more I still need to do. So after I have finished airbrushing and adding highlights, I did do some hand detail painting. I did both black and white on the horns. For the black, I did cover up some spots where I made mistakes with the highlights that got onto the deep parts of the horn. And for the white, I just added additional highlight to the tops of the scales to really make it pop even more. Once everything has dried, the horn is pretty much done and ready to be mounted on the cosplay headband or whatever you choose to put it on. For my cosplay, it is going to go on a headdress. These horns are super light and can easily be adhered to pretty much anything. It's up to you what you choose to put it on. And now, if you haven't already done so, it's time to paint the other part. I also have other examples of different horns that I've made that are not airbrushed and just painted with a regular paintbrush. Here you can see them side by side. There are some differences, but not too many, proving that you don't need super fancy equipment to make something super nice and detailed for your cosplay. These also are an example of how horns will look when added to a headband, which I did not show in this video. You can use your hair to cover the headband if your hair is long enough, or you can use a wig. You can even embellish it with faux flowers or other bits and pieces that you have lying around to make a pretty headdress or crown. So here is this pair fully painted and finished. These are going to get adhered to the headdress as seen here, and this will be part of a future costume for me. And I do hope that this tutorial has helped you, and be sure to check out all of my other videos and my social media, which is all linked within the video and down below for more tutorials and work in progress, as well as finished costumes. If you're interested in more advanced horn making, I am working on a tutorial, I guess PDF book is what I would call it. And once that is made, I will have the link and download in the video as well as the description. Until next time, guys, peace.